Hey guys, Stuart Schreier here from Marketing Cheat Guides. Today I have on the show Danny Barrera from ConcreteMarketingCrew.com. I've known Danny now for a couple of years, actually worked with him a couple of years back. Excited to hear his story, the transformation he's gone through over the last couple of years and see where the business is. So, Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And thanks so much for joining us today on the show.
Stuart, I'm humbled to be here, part of this, the community and in this podcast today. So, again, Danny Barrera, Concrete Marketing Crew. We started a little bit over 2 years ago, niche down in the residential flat work and decorative concrete industry. So that's basically our focus market. It's been going pretty well, thank God. We're at 52 clients throughout the United States. I get a lot of requests from Australia and the UK, but I've decided to just focus here in North America. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, how did you decide on concrete?
It's interesting because thinking back, my father owned a large polishing company back in El Salvador. So I come from El Salvador back in the day, and he had like a construction company. He really wore a lot of hats in there, from the architectural design, all that stuff, the implementation, construction. So as a little kid, I really don't remember much about being in there, but my brother did play a big part in that. So he used to do a lot of the airports and stuff like that. Fast forward, came to the United States, nothing to do with concrete, none of that stuff. But eventually, I thought I was going to be a drummer. I went to the City College of New York up in New York City. And, that didn't work out. I realized my best friends were some of the best drummers you could probably hear. And they're still playing around, but they weren't making any money. And I'm saying to myself, wow, I have too aggressive goals. My goals are too aggressive and there's no money in there. So moved into the IT field, ended up working for Fox News Channel, the actual network, not the local TV station, their Fox Business Network for about 7+ years. And while I was in there, I saw a guy that was in the green room that was being interviewed for e-commerce. And this is back in 07, 08, somewhere around there. I don't know the exact date, but he was talking about how he's making millions of dollars a month. And this is before Shopify. This is before it's popular. Back in the day, you needed like 12 integrations to just get payments processed, So, heard the story, and I said, let me go down to the green room and ask him a couple of questions. So I only had like 1 to 2 minutes, and really, I asked him, hey, that sounded very interesting. Like, what would you recommend? Like, how can I get started? So one thing led to another. I started doing the e-commerce, made some money there. But, like anything else, you put money in, sometimes you break even, sometimes you take a loss. But that was my first real touch with the online world, the online marketing world, right? You got to, buy the clicks or you get yourself up ranked on Google and that sort of thing. Eventually ended up just leaving the second e-commerce store was a fragrance shop. I left that. The first one was a sex toy shop, an adult toy shop, because I said, okay, that's something everyone wants. But anyways, went to helping local businesses. Eventually, I just got burnt out of the commute. It was 1 hour and a half each way. And by that time, I had a pool of clients, local clients, servicing local clients, SEO, Google Ads, web design, that sort of thing. I just quit that job, and I told my wife at that time, I was married, to someone else at that time. I said, hey, look, we're moving to Florida, a tax-friendly state. Let's get a fresh start, something that we can run with. So I came to Florida, right? And everything crashed. Like clients started leaving me and I'm like, oh man, what did I do? So I took money out of my retirement account and like lived through that. So anyways, like I was just a generalist and I became pretty good at SEO, and that was something that I always pride in. I got a couple of consulting gigs, but once those gigs really dry up and you're pretty much left to just seeing whatever else you can hunt, there's no stability there. So, life gave me a couple of punches that I wasn't expecting, ended up getting divorced. And really that was a moment in my life that was that was one of the toughest moments in my life where, I really started back from zero. At that moment I decided, what, this is an opportunity for me to do it right again and just do things the way I really want to do them. So I started looking for mentoring, came across Josh Nelson, the Seven Figure Agency. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Great guy, amazing guy. And just got involved and got immersed, and Jeff Fisher in there had a conversation just like we're having right now. And he asked me a couple of questions, and I just said, I've worked with different industries. I just don't feel comfortable going into the attorney field. Although I have great track record in the medical field too, it's just too many nuances when it comes to legalities and that sort of thing. And you got to run content by them before it gets published. So I didn't want to deal with that. That I knew for a fact. And we went into the trades. Said okay, so now here we are. We've been in this for 2+ years. It's going to be 3 years now. And just focus in this niche, this market. And I decided to just move in, full in and really just let go of whatever I had going on at that time, and just start moving into this direction and just going heavy into this. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's look at it from a takeaway for people. So you decided your niche. You're starting from scratch, newly single, and so what? How did you even go out and start to land your first concrete clients? I mean, everything is momentum, right? So in the beginning, you're
Right.
starting from a standstill stop, and it takes a little time to get that momentum going. So what were some of the first action items that you would recommend for people to start to build that little momentum that's needed?
Yeah, and this I talk to a lot of people, and it comes down to, I think, what qualities you bring to the table. Like I said before, I became very good at SEO and delivering results for clients. So I did have clients that I'd worked in the past that were in the construction field. They did concrete driveways, placements of driveways, etc. So I just went back to the drawing board, like looked them up, and I re-engaged that one client, and I said, hey, look, I'm focused in your industry right now. I see that we could work some things out in your website. Boom, that was the first client. But right after that, I took that one as a case study, if you will, and just started sharing that with people, So picking up the phone and dialing, that was the main method. Hey, hey, so-and-so, I noticed you're a contractor in so-and-so area. Do you have room to take 3 to 5 extra driveways this week? Okay. And obviously you got to look at the keyword, planner and all that good stuff, and just started reaching out to contractors and then showing them what I did for that other one client. So having that case study does help out, but having that specialized skill set, I think that it does add to the momentum, because if I did not have that and I just said, hey, look, I just bought into a program where it teaches me on how to outsource, I would not have that confidence. So that was, that was something that I did have to my advantage, if you will. And I just went all in. I just went all in and just started dialing. I think I would call maybe 150 businesses a day, if you will, which, a couple of hours, you definitely get 5, 6 appointments. Out of those 6 appointments a day that you're landing, you're setting up maybe 2, 3 decent conversations, and then after that, it's just numbers. It becomes numbers.
So let's break that down for people, because I think there's a lot of action items that you're talking about, and
Yeah.
people really need to learn these lessons, right? So first and foremost, success comes from work, and you were willing to put in the work. You got on the phone, you dialed for dollars, and you started setting appointments. So what take me through what a appointment was like back in the day for you in terms of being able to convey A, your expertise, and B, demonstrate value for them.
Yeah, and this is something that, getting over the fear of cold calling, it's just a matter of just doing it, and then having some form of way that you're communicating what's valuable to that other person. Like, they don't care about Google rankings. They don't care about like that. My guys, they just want the phone to ring. They want to place driveways, or they want to stamp a driveway. They want the big jobs, $15, $20, $30,000 jobs. If I can convey that when I'm communicating, I got their attention. If I don't have their attention, I'm not going to move forward into setting an appointment. So the first thing is I kind of developed a script that was very basic, like I said, introducing myself really right to the gate, and then just seeing depending on that one contractor, I would say, okay, so do you have the ability to handle these other jobs? And I would explain just very briefly, yeah, I help concrete contractors do this. In fact, I just worked with so-and-so in whatever state it was, land this many jobs this week, and I want to show you what I did for them. Do you have 5 to 10 minutes? And that was kind of like the script. But the thing is, understanding that out of the 150 dials, dude, I could probably only get to 25, 30 conversations. And out of those 25 to 30 conversations, I knew, okay, 5 to 6 are going to turn into an appointment. And I also want to say, while I'm doing that, I'm having a VA also sending emails out to everyone. So kind of like those efforts really came together, to give me that momentum. And within 2 months, I think I was up to 4 clients, and then after that, it's just adding 2 to 3, 5 clients a month. Yeah.
And so let's fast forward back to today, just so people can kind of see the evolution. So
Yeah.
in the beginning, you started dialing for dollars. What's changed today? How are you currently? I mean, today we're in the middle of COVID, so perhaps not necessarily today, but let's say within recent history, what were
Yeah.
you doing to generate new business so that people can see there's an evolution to business? You build some momentum, you land some clients, you have more case studies, it becomes easier, presumably. But what did you evolve to today? Are you still dialing?
No, I'm not dialing. Although, like, I'm picking up the phone now to reintroduce myself. Something I want to point out that's very important is the list that you're working with. If you're working with just a list that you pulled from just Fiverr or whatever, yeah, I'm not going to mention any softwares here because, it's scrape lists basically. You call that list, you're not going to have quality conversations. If you get yourself a list of whether you purchase it Info USA or whatever list, at least you're talking to people that have some wherewithal, that their revenues can hold up for marketing and advertising. So that's very important if you get yourself that list. When I first started, I really didn't have that much money, so I just went and started scraping for businesses that were spending money on ads, etc. So right. So now what happened is back then that was my situation. Fast forward, last year I invested heavily into associations, into physical events, and I'll tell you, branding matters. Like, I come from listening to Dan Kennedy, all direct response. I love direct response. But when it comes to building trust and positioning yourself as an authority, there is nothing like putting your brand right where your marketplace is hanging out. There's nothing like it. I'm talking about talking to the manufacturers of products that actually influence the conversations, influence the conferences, that get speakers actually on stage. And so last year, it was like pretty much 360. I went from like 2 years ago, outreach, cold outreach, emails, messaging, all this 3 5 point contact, to, I shifted over to building my physical presence in the marketplace. And there's a lot of traveling, a lot of investing into trade shows, this. And I'll tell you, I pretty much, like, literally I started out somewhere around 25 something thousand in recurring. Last year I ended just last month at 83 something like that
The
plus.
magic number, man.
But look at that growth. I attribute a lot of that growth and momentum to a lot of activity, but the actual physical presence, because landing the Dream 100s, getting the word out, people talking in the industry, that does not happen via an email or via a phone call. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. That's actually happened after the events, after the shows, after, like, getting in touch with the real key players. So I've actually mapped out, I have a map of the key players in my industry, and they know who I am. They send me business now, so that's a game changer right there.
Awesome. So when you're talking key players, just so we can unpack that, are you talking influencers like the manufacturers who are working with their distributors in areas and they're saying, hey, you got to go talk to Danny because he's going to take care of your
Yeah.
marketing?
Yeah, I have at least 20 of those guys throughout the United States. And look, a lot of those relationships started out like at the trade shows. Then came the association. Once the association started noticing that I'm active in the trade shows, I landed a public speaking gig last year at the largest decorative concrete event. So my first two speaking events live, and I was freaked out, but I did it. And there was one person in that one specific presentation that really just changed the way people look at me now. So I'll tell you this, it's night and day. So key players, you got to map out. Every industry is different. In concrete, I don't know every other industry, but in concrete you have product manufacturers, and I'm talking about like chemists, people that actually decide what's going to go into products, the owners of those companies. There's one guy that I just talked to not too long ago. He owns 12 companies within the concrete industries, 12 companies that manufacture products in different areas of concrete. And that's one idea, right? He owns a company. There's another guy that's in marketing, that he's a CMO for a manufacturing company, but he's got his sales reps and contacts, with all those other individuals. And he's got a lot of contacts. Owners of Facebook groups that are, for your industry. Get to know them in person. And I'll tell you another thing I want to add here to the mix is the branding per se. It's not just the physical also, but cleaning up the online social media. We say we're marketers, but a lot of times we don't know how to market our own agencies, right? So I decided to invest into polishing up some videos last year that did help, just getting people to take me a little bit serious. And I get a lot of comments where it's like, hey, I watch your videos on Instagram. Hey, I saw the YouTube video. Hey, I saw this, I saw that. And it's like, okay, so it's working. So yeah. So those are the key players. Yeah.
Just for context, so people understand, this is not you posted one video. I know I follow you, so I know what you're doing, but I want people to really understand the breadth and the devotion that you've put into this. It's not one and done. It's not buy or die. There's a nurturing process that's happening. So how frequently are you publishing content?
So here's the thing. I have a pool of about 90 different videos. And as best as you can. So for Instagram, for example, we started from zero last year. Last year, I started zero. Now we're over 1,300. And I'll tell you, if we look at the ratio, we're 90% of the audience is concrete guys. It's not marketers. I don't use hashtags. So I did the research on the hashtags, and I just started spacing that out. So in the beginning, you definitely need to post more than once you have momentum. I can show you a message where, like, a day ago, someone asked me for a website. Hey, I want a website, and now we have a conversation there, paid agreement, all that good stuff. So all started from Instagram. The point I'm trying to get to is spacing out in the beginning. You definitely need to go as heavy as you can. If you can do a video a day, multiple videos a day, you do that. But Dennis Yu has the grid, the 3x3. I don't know if you know the why, how, and the what videos. You need to come up with why you started where you started, or why you're serving your industry, connecting with them, and just sharing that information that to us doesn't make sense. Is not a call to action right here. This is just brand awareness. The next one is, I think, is the how, right? It's how, and then now you start talking about problems in the industry and how you solve it, how they can generate leads with this, how they can use this to that, and give away all your secrets. Like, don't hold anything back. And then the what is, now you're starting to get into what they need to do if they want to take action, right? So if you really map out your content, you don't need to go crazy. Just write out a couple of questions, record yourself on an iPhone, or if you have a DSLR, and then just start publishing that on LinkedIn, on your Facebooks. And I do happen to have 2 Facebook accounts. I got to say that and both are verified, with a photo ID. Hopefully Facebook is not listening, but I do have 2. One of them is for my friends, internet marketers. I don't post that stuff here, but the other one I do post all that stuff. And then share your content to the Facebook groups. And don't, when you're sharing to the Facebook groups, just don't be too promotional. Just be helpful. Just let that. And imagine you can if you're doing it from your public figure page, you could just retarget those individuals later on if you want to do that, you know.
Fantastic. So another question about branding. You're wearing the brand on your shirt right now, and just want to point
Yes.
that out so people actually catch that.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you about when did you make the decision to invest in building your own brand, and what was your decision making process in terms of dollars to devote to that, and maybe the hierarchy of logo, new site, letterhead, however you kind of did that, just so people can kind of get an understanding of that evolution.
You know, I started, I kind of hit a wall when I was maybe, I don't know, I was maybe at around 10 clients and 11 clients. And I said, man, I'm just not having it. Like, yeah, I'm getting more clients. But the thing is, like, I just don't want to deal with this amount of who are you? Like, why are you calling? I just hated that. I just like did not like that. And I always take those things and I reflect upon them. Like that was a moment that I said, I got to get my act together. I got to do something different. So that's when I said, you know what, let me invest in just getting physical. And the thing is, I set a goal to myself. And my goal was, they will know who I am. They will know who I am. And I just kept saying that to repeating that every day. Every time I heard an objection or rejection or, hey, go and F yourself, I just kept playing that in the back of my head because I used that as inspiration, So at that moment, I said, that was about a year plus ago. That's when I shifted, and that's when I started putting myself out there. So it came right along, maybe not last December, but the one before, yeah. And that was after, because I remember you helped me out, you really clarify and fine-tune messaging and outreach strategies and lead generation. So, you really put some ideas into my head that I hadn't considered before, and those help out great, all the videos and all the stuff and helping people out. But really the branding and getting established and being positioned as a player, it changes the conversation. It changes everything.
And what type of dollars are you talking about? Just would you give an example? Like, is this something that you think would take 5,000, 10,000, 15,000? Is it something that somebody can do? You mentioned when you were at 10 clients having this like epiphany that, okay, I need to start to plant a seed in other people's head, almost pre-frame them to know who I am. And so I'm curious as to the budget that you put forward, just so people can kind of have a grasp of what does this take?
Yeah. Okay. So I started, the association is somewhere north of 1,500. Okay. That's very important. That's one of them. They may run, some are $200-300 a year, but it depends. So you got to add that up. But I'm saying, to get going into the first event we went to, I went with Maddie, and this one, it was under $3,000. I stayed at an Airbnb, Spirit Airlines. I fly Spirit Airlines, I mean, I just basic stuff and nothing crazy. Under 3,000, we had the booth. I negotiated the booths, by the way. You can always call up. If you don't have money, you got to get creative, or if you don't have a lot of budget. Sometimes if you call up last minute, and you talk to the event organizer, you can negotiate. Sometimes you can get a 50% off, 40% off. Just a quick tip there. But just negotiated pricing. Others won't. So I was the first one. Then I started going right after, like a month later. Last June, there was another one in Dallas, Texas, last October. So I spent probably somewhere around 20 to 25,000 last year in all that physical presence, which is not a lot. The return has, every time I come back with hundreds of contacts. And out of those hundreds, I always cover and make up, in recurring revenue. So I always make it up. So
The ROI is there, absolutely.
yeah. Oh yeah. Easily.
So looking back now, right? You've gone through this journey of kicking it off from a fresh start, Florida, to today. If we were talking to a younger version of yourself, somebody that was earlier in the journey, what are three things that you would tell yourself? Three pieces of advice 3 lessons that kind of you want to give to a younger version of yourself?
You know, something that I went through when I hit the rock bottom. I'll tell you, there were days where, I did sleep out of my car for some time. And I had a friend that he let me sleep in his couch, and I'll be forever grateful to that guy. But there were times when things were really going down for me, where there was only pasta in the kitchen there, and it was like the 78 cents pasta where I would just boil water, put a couple of pinches of salt and butter, and that was what my kids would eat. And I did my best. I thought I was doing the best that I could, but I knew there was something missing, and I didn't know what it was. I did not know what it was. And that is the power of having the right guidance and the right mentorship. I would be the guy consuming the WSOs and having, every $8 or $9 widget. If you add all of those up in a month, that's a couple of $100 easy. Easy. But the thing is, we're looking for that quick, that little thing that's going to get us to the next stage. And I'm praying, I'm saying, God, what's going on? Like, I'm not a bad guy, I'm suffering. I would go to McDonald's, and the only thing I could do is get something from the dollar menu for my kids. I would go to the gas station and pray, man, hopefully this car goes through. I tell you, that was me. So that's the first thing is really reassess what you're putting in and who you're listening to. I mean, Stuart, you're really a quality guy. If someone is looking to niche down, get guidance in the marketing aspect, what should I do? The focus, just one conversation can change everything, but then you got to commit to it. That's follow it, right? The direction that you're going to take. Once you get clear on that, that's number one. Once you get clear, focus and stay put. Like, you got to stay. You got to stay with it, because another shiny object is going to come by. That's going to take you away from this right here. I've gained momentum because no matter what, I just keep going, And this right now is the most exciting time for me. I'm more excited right now than before, because now I have momentum. I want every single guy to really now know who I am, and that's my approach. But I built that momentum, Stay committed, stay consistent, and branding does work. So if you can invest, and I don't care if you're just getting started, do pay attention to that, how you want to be seen and portrayed, and you will be taken seriously. So a lot of times we just want to put whatever we can. Yes, in the beginning you need to do that, but once you start making money, just pay attention to that, because it's, appearances apparently do make a difference. So
People do judge the books by the cover. Absolutely.
By the cover. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today and sharing all of this wisdom, especially in this time of turbulence where people are, definitely their mindsets have shifted a little bit to fear. I hear your mindset is more in the growth mode, which is fantastic to see. And I definitely think this is a timely message for people to take in. And, you've started, you've built, you've gone through recession, you've gone through changes, and look where you are now. I think it's a great message for people to get. So thanks so much for joining us. Do you have anywhere where we can send people if they want to interact with you on social media? I know you have limited time growing your business, but for those that want to reach out to you, where would I send them?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me on Instagram, and now I'm that's the one channel. My personal Instagram is it's Danny Barrera. That's one place that I really want to grow, and I want to share my journey with you guys, and just share the day to day. I have not done that proactively for me. I've done it for my agency, but I want to be able to share that with the world. And then my Facebook page, I'm connected with you, so you'll have the link to that, and LinkedIn as well if you guys want to follow me. Look, guys, the sky is the limit, but the bottom line is, there's got to be clarity. If you're not clear where you're going, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what course you buy. If you don't commit to it, you're not going to get results. It's the bottom line. I can guarantee you that. So thank you again, Stuart.
Thank you so much for taking the time today. Guys, if you're still watching this, definitely hit that like button. Help us share this message. I think this is a really, really good video for people to see, especially in these trying times. And if you have any comments or questions, drop them below. Happy to engage with you here on the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.